All right, it's new car day. We've been waiting for this for a while. We're at Porsche Perth. We're gonna see what it's all about. Most EV owners I know, they're not buying them to save the planet, they're buying them to save the wallet. So until those, I guess, support mechanisms from the government expire, make the most of it right now. All right, here it is, man.
Yeah, cool.
Finally.
Got a lot of nice details through there that really make it bespoke, especially the carbon in the sides there, down the front end just below where your plate is and things too. Yeah, really unique bespoke spec for it.
That carbon pack, it actually has a lot more carbon on it than I thought it would.
Yeah. Even the things like these touch sensor grab handles for your charging ports, just to get in, ease of charging on the day-to-day.
It's so trick, isn't it?
Yeah, they're cool.
It's brilliant.
And then besides that, even things like your keyless entry as well with these two. You can get a look in the interior here too. Again, just another one that's, a lot of attention to detail in there, especially with the GTS. You kind of need to have that level to warrant the sort of nature of this car.
It's quite a big difference in spec, isn't there, on the GTS? I mean, even versus a turbo, it's a different feeling.
100%. If you want to jump inside too,
sure.
We'll talk about the inside.
I've been excited to experience this. The amount of times that I've looked at Taycan interiors online lately, just to make sure that this is right. Quality of the interior is so good.
They really do take it to another level. I mean, you can see the carbon there that you were just feeling again, sort of extends into the interior too. There's full leather stitching across the top there as well. Now have a go at this button down below there. This will be something I'm sure you've never seen before. So you'll see this has just prompted you with a glass roof up there. You'll have a look up above you too. It's slightly changed there. So that's just sort of breaking it up just now too.
Okay. I saw this on the options list and I didn't realise it had that aesthetic. I just thought it was a sort of opaque or not, but that's...
Yes, so obviously there's no roof blind with this here. They've created the technology to sort of make do with that. So you can just sort of drag across there and show it off entirely.
Does that make a noise when you do it?
There's a slight little whir you can see with that.
I don't know how they program that glass, but that's pretty amazing.
Somebody's smarter than me.
Look at this.
And it's just how it builds from the front to the back.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I'm sold.
There you go.
Amazing. Wow. So this GTS, I believe, is the best value example in the whole of the UK. It's the cheapest car in the UK, which is, I mean, it's a full-on spec as well. And the GTS, if you're looking for a non-GT Porsche, GTS is literally the best of both worlds. Like, it's got enough GT in it, but enough sort of daily driver-ness. It's bolder. Am I right in thinking that GTS has its own sound profile compared to other Taycan?
100%. In the sports sound for the Taycan, things like when the initial sports sound is switched on, sort of mid-drive, you'll hear that output, like if you're driving a hybrid car, just as the engine kicks in, sort of shoots off those exhausts. So you'll see that mirrored there. Even it tries to mirror a sort of slight downshift in there too.
Right.
Even though there's no gears or anything, it's trying to just become as much of a mirror to that conventional driving experience in your combustion engine.
Well, I suppose you've got the option to have it on or off,
right? 100%. And then further from that too, you've got some chassis controls in there also.
This will be fascinating because I've only driven Taycan once, and it was when the car launched, so we're going back some time now. And that time was a turbo. And no doubt, even since then, they've probably made sort of evolutionary improvements since then. So I'm really interested in seeing what Porsche's idea of a driver's electric car will be, because that's effectively what the GTS is trying for, right?
100%. I think that kind of ends though when you try the car in launch control, which I don't know if you tried with the turbo.
I did, it was ridiculous.
100%.
Absolutely nuts.
The GTS is more of the same. It just turns into a frog. Like you're awake, you're conscious, and then woof, there you are. You wake up and you're further forward. And then other things that again you may already be familiar with, some of the subtleties with the EV aspects of it there. Porsche have done a really good job in the sort of internal facelifts in the past few years since the car launched. So much so they've managed to come up with a really diverse database for charging stations and things. In fact, the sort of management of the charging systems has become something that they've really took an eye on, even just to make it personal. We were trying to arrange some charging keyrings that came in recently. It's something they've just launched for us, like a keyring that all you need to do, almost like a token of authentication, come up to our chargers, tap your keyring on it, and they go and charge them.
That's super helpful. So if I'm planning a route, then it'll know based on the distance I need to go at what point that it'll route me in order to charge.
Correct, yeah. So that's again something that the route planner built in here is looking to try and solve. The car in most cases won't allow you to arrive at a destination without a minimum of about 20% charge. So it's looking after you, even though you know it's a very impractical car in terms of driving style and wanting to use that power. It's responsible and it wants you to make sure that you can do your best to manage your route.
Yeah. One of the first journeys we're thinking about doing is I keep a GT3 at the Nürburgring, and we've left it over there. Now it's winter, it's closed. We're thinking road trip in this to go and get that car.
100%.
It'll be interesting to see how it routes it and how it plans those charging stops.
Absolutely.
It's actually interesting how many charging points there are.
100%.
I mean, I'm scrolling down this list and mile after mile.
And this is just the Perth area as well there. As more as you keep going through it, it'll eventually start getting some in the sort of surrounding area. There you see now it's starting to go out towards my neck of the woods out in the countryside.
Yeah, very cool. Can you filter at all by charging speed?
Yeah, 100%. What you would need to do back at the very beginning of this process here, you've got a filter here for all charging stations. That can be changed specifically to 250 kilowatt or higher. You can even specifically choose the charging service. So like I mentioned there before, if you only want to make use of these fancy cafes, then 100% you can do that through the centre there.
I mean, cracking if you can land on 350 kilowatts. So what's that? That's from low to 80% in like 20 minutes or something like that?
Generally judge it off a 20% battery to 80% because that is the sort of period that you're doing most of most of your journey is going to be between those ranges. So 20% to 80% ready to get you set off, 20 minutes max. Let's show off the sports chrono. I don't know if you ever had a chance to use this.
No, I didn't.
This has actually got one of the Porsche design clocks too. Cool. Usually you'll come through and you'll see these sort of have a digital display in it. This is one of, like I say, because it's such a bespoke spec on this too, and you've got a different chronograph in there. It'd be a nice one to have on the watch face for sure. So yeah, you might have previously had it up with the some of the displays there, but you can really go and deep dive into these, and this is where a lot of the personalisation lives, just because that is where you're going to be spending most of your time looking at on your drive. Not only that, combined with your heads-up display behind you, you can completely configure the scope of what's visible on there. So if I move this up to the top, fully drag and drop, So if you really want to make this sort of a lap orientated car, if I put that one up the top there, I'll change this to 2 display fields. So
I'm going for G-force, I reckon.
Yeah, I'll get the G-force.
Yeah, drag that.
So I'll put that up the side. So you can fully customise what's up there. You can change the scope of what's on it. You can find that one that we just programmed there with your lap timer and your sports response showing up there too. There
it goes. That's properly cool. Yeah, I've got lap timer and G meter reading up now.
Fantastic. It makes the difference for a lot of them that will just show you your speed and maybe a little bit on the navigation.
It's interesting that you can customise your heads-up display.
I mean,
I've never seen that before. If we were south, these would all be grey. You know what I mean? These would be grey. These will age exceptionally well because the next Cayman platform we know is going to have a heavy EV bias. So what will the next generation of GT product look like from Porsche? Probably won't have that engine in it. It won't have quite as much soul. What are we going to do about EVs and manuals in a GT product? Obviously we don't know GT products are going to go EV, but it'll be heavier. Probably at best case it'll be hybrid. It almost feels like a swan song moment to make the most of these sorts of cars. I mean, if you're buying now, it's unbelievable. Have a look at this boot.
If we take a look in the back.
What's this?
So some cool things to maybe help you along the way. I'll touch on, this is quite a cool little trinket I suppose. Maybe one for the GT3, not so specific to this car. It's a remake of a rocker arm. So one of the sort of engine controls that controls the piston. So they've made a condensed rocker arm modelled off of the GT3. That's actually a Porsche Centre Perth.
It's huge.
Calendar.
That's brilliant.
It's a big one. Don't do anything small.
Very cool.
And then there's a commemorative coin to go with that as well.
Wow.
We can give a wee sneak preview
Yeah,
January,
yeah,
I suppose.
Wow,
It's not too bad.
that's
A couple
very,
992s
very
there.
cool.
Some
Brilliant.
nice landscape.
That's fancy.
Yeah, we recently had a couple of these Glenturret whiskey bottles commissioned for some recent events. These are Taycan specific Glenturret whiskey.
You're not playing around here, are you?
Specifically for
Specifically bottled up here,
Yep, this is actually the oldest whiskey
Taycan
distillery in Scotland.
clients.
Yeah, we recently had an event, we wanted to commemorate it, and we've got a lot of loyal Taycan customers here, so giving a chance for them for not only to drive the car after a few difficult years with COVID and make use of it, we wanted to commemorate the occasion specifically for it.
Dealers, take note. This is the coolest I've seen. This is very, very cool. Wow.
And then also, if you've not seen the front already, or rather to maybe re-familiarise yourself with it, and this is really just for me to flaunt those gesture controls again there. You should just be able to open up that front
Are you
end
serious?
there.
Is that how you can open the front of it?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Brilliant. I'm just keen on exploring it and spending more miles. I mean, our previous electric car was a Tesla, and it was okay. I never warmed to it, but it felt more like a utility white good almost.
Yeah, Porsche don't do anything by halves. Try to make sure that you can get, you know, the most luxurious and performance-orientated electric car.
Yeah.
Was the key with it.
The build quality. I mean, even sitting in it stationary, it's just a different league, isn't it? It's
100%.
stunning inside. But I do think a good road trip in it to figure out what it's all about. And I suppose as well, obviously it'll spend most of its time in the UK, but to perhaps get a feel for what it's like when you're crossing a continent. You know, when you get into Europe, obviously Nürburgring's based in Germany, so you would expect that there'll be some infrastructure for this out there.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's see. But yeah, it looks great. It's not going to look that clean for long. Yeah, awesome. One of the other things, let's not beat around the bush. As a corporate purchase, many incentives on EVs, particularly from Porsche Perth. I won't pretend we have got the most unbelievable deal on this. Ali's got some particularly strong incentives right now, so that's why we've sort of wanted to complete on this before the end of the year. But also, we're going to be taking this in and out of London. Koenigsegg London showroom is opening soon. There's no congestion charge. It's ULEZ exempt. Charging points as well around London particularly are, if you look at charging points on a map, it is condensed in town. So it just makes things like parking easier. But from a corporation tax point of view, I mean, your first year allowance on this is 100% deductible as a new car. So there's a perk there. Buying it as a director, I think if you were to take this as a 100 grand example, you could claim £25,000 against your corporation tax. So that's the sort of thing that we absolutely cannot do when we buy a GT3, sadly. So, you know, there's loads of other interesting reasons around the ownership of an EV outside of how it just drives, right? So we just thought it's interesting to speak about these things because it is a realistic proposition when you're buying a car. And most EV owners I know, you know, they're not buying them to save the planet, they're buying them to save the wallet. It works really well. So until those, I guess, support mechanisms from the government expire, make the most of it right now, and we are doing so. And one thing I would say, and I would like to push these guys, because the deals that they are doing are exceptional on this, which is another one of the reasons why we're completing on this car before year end. So if you've been considering a Taycan, I would implore you to speak to Ali, because frankly some of the deals he's got going on are pretty awesome. So hence Taycan. Looks cool too.